You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we are here to discuss, slightly belatedly, England's Ashes squad, the end of the Asia Cup and the beginning of the Women's World Cup. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Max Rowe-Brown. How are you doing, Max? It looks like you've got a nice chaise lounge in the background for our viewers over on YouTube.
Yeah, if only. It's just a pile of pillows on the floor, but you know, it's
Poor man's
we can give
chaise lounge.
a poor man's chaise long, a chaise short.
Yeah, indeed. Max is here. I'm here. We will be talking about cricket. Before we do that, just a reminder, remember to click like and subscribe to the Cricket Pod wherever you are listening or watching. Click that button, help boost our numbers. We're sort of in the countdown to the Ashes now, aren't we? What are we, 2
I think so.
months away? Yeah, so like, if you're interested in that, make sure you're following along, because I'm sure there'll be loads of hijinks. I was going to say David Warner related hijinks, because I think he's the most likely man to start the hijinks, but I don't know whether it's related to him. It would be related to the Ashes. Instigated.
Well, he started already, isn't he? He was on it months ago, talking about Joe Root and his surfboard. So yeah.
Is he going to be on comms? Is he going to be on comms?
I hope not. I hope not. He won't be on my comms because I'll just mute it, I think.
Made his commentary debut last year. I think it's a decent chance.
I think there's a very strong chance.
Last 4 years, whenever the last one was, the one that we forget, the one that Stuart Broad said didn't count. The last time, the Australian commentary was so bad after the first test that BT put their own commentary on over the top of it. You couldn't hear all the commentators at once, but they replaced them all. So yeah, that kind of hijinks. We'll be bringing you the best and greatest commentary team related hijinks, as well as detailed analysis of all the Ashes cricket. I mean, if that isn't a pitch,
I don't know what more you could possibly ask for, to be honest.
If that isn't a worthy 90-second pitch to get you to like and subscribe, I don't know what is.
And Max, we're going to have boots on the ground, aren't we, from the Patreon Discord?
Yes, we are. Yeah. Alex from Patreon Discord, which you can join, patreon.com/the cricket pod, will be there for the final 3 tests, which will either be, for him, great or terrible. Look, let's do the Ashes squad. Max, England have named 16 men to their team. Ben Stokes and Ben Duckett. They make up the Ben contingent, as well as providing captaincy and an opening option. Zach Crawley, obviously. Ollie Pope, and I'm sure we'll be talking about him. Joe Root, Harry Brook, Jacob Bethell, Jamie Smith, Will Jacks. Then we get to the bowlers. Jofra Archer. Well, I guess actually Will Jacks might be one of the bowlers. We'll maybe talk about that a little bit as well. Jofra Archer, Mark Wood, Bryden Cast, Gus Atkinson, Josh Tong. I still have never got to the bottom of that. Matthew Potts and Shoaib Bashir. Max, lots of names there. Lots of names I think we kind of expected. Let's do an initial take, then we'll talk about some of the guys who weren't there. What's your initial take on England's 16 man? Imagine if they only sent 6 men.
My initial take, it's very much 15 out of 16 as expected, and one wild card, which I think is, to be honest, for the Bazball era, that's pretty safe, isn't it? That's a pretty safe selection, pretty straight down the road. Not too many surprises. They have to throw in one curveball or two. I suppose the one curveball, of course, we'll get to in terms of Will Jack's selection. The other curveball isn't, I guess, a personnel one so much as a leadership one. So maybe they've decided that to balance out the fact that they're going to keep a broadly settled squad from what we would have seen this summer and what we would have expected to see. Throw a little sprinkle of confusion in there by swapping around the vice captaincy.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose there is a little bit of intrigue. Overall, I would say I wasn't. I would say I was 3 out of 10 surprised. I think, if we're honest, the writing was on the wall for the Ollie Pope captaincy or vice captaincy era.
Yeah.
like, there are basically better options in the team. Brook obviously being one of them, who is now the white ball captain. Probably, I think we can probably say it's likely he'll be the next Test captain, or be a Test captain at some point. Pope, I don't think it necessarily means he's going to be dropped, but he is more likely to be dropped.
Yeah, I don't think it's an immediate death sentence for Ollie Pope. I think it's a third Test death sentence for Ollie Pope. I think it's also laying the groundwork, isn't it, to be able to make that decision, because it's obviously one that they want to make at some point. And you just like that's the vibe you get, isn't it? They've like Jacob Bethell is essentially anointed as someone that they want to have in the Test side, and Ollie Pope is the man he'll replace, and it makes it much more difficult to replace Ollie Pope if he is the vice captain. So take the vice captaincy away. And I'm not saying this doesn't make sense, right? Because Ollie Pope is basically the next name on the block in that batting order, because Zach Crawley is obviously untouchable for some or whatever reason. That Ollie Pope is probably the next man that would you'd remove from that batting lineup, and it's difficult to do that if he is the vice captain. So I mean, I'm not saying it's necessarily the wrong decision from that point of view. And also, like you say, as from a leadership perspective, Ollie Pope, it felt like a slightly odd decision in the first place, didn't it? Making Ollie Pope vice captain. So I think it does make. I guess it makes sense, but I think it is pointing towards a desire to bring in Jacob Bethell, especially because Rob Key came out and said that that's exactly not what the plan is. And if Rob Key comes out and tells you that that's exactly not what's happening, then you can sure as hell believe that that's what's going to happen.
So here's what I think really around this. Vice captaincy is a kind of a nonsense position. England do need one. Folks gets injured, so it's worth naming it so that there is a plan for when he does get injured, right? If you're England in that scenario, or if you're any team in that scenario, you basically have two candidates. You have the next guy who might be captain, or you have the steady pair of hands. And if we want to look at some, an example of steady pair of hands, KL Rahul did this. Not KL Rahul. Well, KL Rahul has done this for India. I meant Rahane did this for India on a number of occasions. Captained quite a few tests for them. They knew he wasn't going to be a permanent captain, but they also knew steady pair of hands, not going to fuck anything up, happy to relinquish it, even if he does pull off a heroic away series win against Australia. Like he's not, advocating for himself to be the captain over Kohli or Rohit in the next series. Like everyone knows where to stand with that. Pope, I don't think is either of those things. Like I think purely from a captaincy point of view, I'm not sure he is clearly a steady pair of hands, and I'm not sure he's in the running to be England's next captain. I would be surprised, unless England go full wheels off mode, and that is a possibility.
Wouldn't rule it out.
I would be a little bit surprised if he was dropped during the series. I think he'd have to play really, really badly. I think sort of any runs to speak of, like a single 50 in his first 6 innings. I think, unless he goes like 50, duck. Sometimes you get players who have that kind of run, don't you?
But I think Pope is one of the chief guys in that category. To be fair,
I think it's basically all right. I think he's basically all right. I think we talked about it a little bit when it was sort of happening. I'm not sure, despite his recent century in was it against South Africa? I think it was against South Africa. I'm going to say it was South Africa. I'm not sure Bethell is quite up to the task, and I think England actually probably know that. I think he may well eventually be up to the task, and I don't think it's a case. I don't hate his selection for the 16-man squad, because what else is he going to be doing, and who else are you going to take? But we saw him at the Oval, and he looked a bit like a man without a plan. in that scenario. So I don't see it happening. I think Bethell actually is after the Ashes for sure. If England don't perform well, and if Pope doesn't perform well, I can definitely see him not playing for England in the summer next year, and potentially beyond that, and them trying Bethell, building towards the next home Ashes. I think if Pope doesn't perform away, I think they'll say, look, we've got justification now. We've tried him all over the world, and he's inconsistent at best. Does have his moments, right? But we think we can improve on it, and I think we'll have a go. But I think mid-series, I would be a little bit surprised if he was in for the chop. Do you want to talk about Will Jacks, or do you want to talk about people who aren't there?
Well, let's talk about Will Jacks, because actually I think I'm wondering whether Will Jacks offers us a bit of a clue as to whether they might have in mind replacing Ollie Pope at some point in the series. I can see as well Ollie Pope's Ashes series being like bloodbath at Perth, like 2 ducks, whatever, like a first innings, a plucky first innings 80 in the day-nighter at Brisbane that keeps him alive, and then nothing else the rest of the series. I could see that.
It's definitely on the cards. It's not impossible.
The day-nighter thing feels like an Ollie Pope moment to do something and flatter once again. But no, I'm just thinking the Will Jacks selection. I mean, it caught me off guard. I will put.
I agree.
I'll definitely say that.
When I said 3 out of 10 surprised, all 3 of those points.
Certainly caught me off guard. I mean, obviously they've tried it before in Pakistan, very different scenario, but it just makes me wonder whether they have in the back of their minds a situation where actually, I don't know, the batting isn't going so well, and we haven't got Chris Wokes because of his injury. Whether he would have gone anyway, I don't know. Slightly longer tail. Do we then have Will Jacks in there as a half and a half? Mainly, he's mainly a batter. He can bowl some off spin, and then Jacob Bethell, who also bowls some left arm spin at 3. And you have you're basically trying to replace Shahid Bashir with 2 players, and trying to extend the batting a bit in the absence of Chris Wokes if things start going a bit wrong. That's in the back of my mind what I'm wondering is going on. I don't like it, but I don't see much of another reason to picking Will Jacks over, I don't know, just another test batter. It's a strange one.
Yeah, like it's another one. Like, obviously it is weird, because they have done it for a reason, and now everyone has to try and figure out what the reason is. You don't
Never
make
that
this
easy.
selection. You don't make this selection, I think, if you're looking for exact like for like replacements. So what you're saying there is, if you have to drop a batter and you have to drop the spinner, then you can add 2 batters and sort of add a spinner. I mean, like that is one theory, I guess.
Yeah.
I would kind of still be a little bit surprised if he did play. Now there might be some venues. Maybe like there could be like some sort of wild curveball for Perth straight up, for example, where England play Will Jacks and 3 seamers plus Stokes if he's fit, and go for this kind of
Try and score 750.
Well, yeah, basically they kind of go in with a team that's going to be quite hard to beat. Like, they should score enough runs to win, and if you go, with all your big dogs, like it could backfire big time.
Park the bus away at the Bernabeu in the first leg of the semi-final. Give yourself a chance back at home.
If you really wanted to go for a risky strategy, you could play Archer and Wood and Atkinson, say, and have Stokes as your 4th seamer, and then Will Jacks and Joe Root bowl a little bit of part-time spin, and then you've got Will Jacks at 8. Now Will Jacks is a good batter. He's not probably, I don't think, a top 6 test batter. I don't think that his record would support that, but in the right conditions, Will Jacks will take down the best in the world, and if he's batting down the order with license, that might be the best conditions. It could fail spectacularly, of course, but like there's some sort of like curveball strategy that
older
could
ball.
I
mean, the ball gets very very much easier to hit in Australia, doesn't it? The Kookaburra.
I think the other thing with Will Jacks is if England do want to play a spinner, but they only see a limited role for the spinner. And we've seen some pitches in Australia that have been pretty lively, and Nathan Lyon hasn't been bowling a lot in recent years in Australia. If England do want to play a spinner and Shoaib Bashir isn't working, Shoaib Bashir offers you nothing with the bat, like literally nothing with
or in the field.
Or in the field. Will Jacks. So this is the other end. If you are looking at it from a direct replacement point of view, if England have looked at it and they've said, there's no point picking our second best spinner. Like, Jack Leach doesn't offer anything with the bat. Liam Dawson, we don't think is up to the task. So we might as well pick the best batting option of the guys who could bowl some spin, and who don't have franchise contracts, because there's also an argument. I mean, like this is maybe where we segue into like the guys who aren't there. There is also an argument that the best option for this particular role would have been Rayan Ahmed. But he's doing some franchise stuff, I think, in Australia. So, like, why pull him out of that?
He's already there.
He might as well be playing some games in that. And then if you do decide you'd actually rather have Rayan Ahmed, fine, like call him up at the last minute. Like, it's not, the Sydney Sixers or whoever he's playing for aren't going to be able to do anything about that, are they? Like, it would be a bit annoying for Will Jacks carrying drinks all the time, but like, that's
You're also in the Lions.
How the thing works. Yeah. Exactly. So it's not like, so I think there's like, so talking through it all, like there's a couple of options Will Jacks give them. Like, he can bat if you decide the spinner can't really do anything and you want a batter, basically. You could sort of platoon him with Jacob Bethell into one mediocre spinner instead of 2 bad spinners. And even that might be a bit generous, to be honest. Or he might literally just be a name on the sheet that the guys like having around the area, like around the squad. And the plan is to play Rayan Ahmed if anything goes wrong with Shoaib Bashir. Like I would. So I think, having looked at it and digested it over a little while, I don't think we'll actually see any of Will Jacks in this series, but did grab some headlines, and if Max, the only thing worse than bad headlines is no headlines. Is that the saying? Something like that, isn't it? Like,
bad publicity. The only thing worse than bad publicity is no publicity.
There we are. So that's my thoughts on that. I mean, like, there'll be people absolutely. I mean, like, a lot of column inches got written off the back of this. There are people who are absolutely, like, outraged at this.
And as ever, we were hot on the button there to kick off the chat.
Like, I thought that. There were people talking, like, people were upset again for Liam Dawson, and it's like, did we not see that entire Test match where he, could still be playing now, and he wouldn't have got any of those Indian batters out? Like, and it's not really a slight on Liam Dawson. I can absolutely see, having seen Liam Dawson, why they were reluctant to play Liam Dawson now.
Well, you can be surprised about the Will Jacks pick, but that doesn't extend to being surprised about Liam Dawson not being there.
And even if you want to, like, I personally would probably have gone for Rayan Ahmed, because I think there's probably higher upside with the ball and probably higher upside with the bat as well. Like, I think he is developing into a really, really well-rounded player. But I am 99% sure that he barely bowled this year.
He bowled a bit.
I don't know why I've qualified. Why I've qualified that with 99%. Like, in red ball cricket for Leicestershire, where he had a really, really good season, by the way. Not really a bowler. Played largely as a batter and I'll get up the exact number of overs he bowls while you're talking. But I can see from an England point of view why you might not want to risk bringing a spinner who didn't really bowl.
Or at least he's
and
in
not
the
like
he's in
it's not like Will
he's in the
Jackson
Lions
bowling
side.
loads, but like yeah, for
He's
sure. It's not
he's
like
in the
Will
Lions
Jackson bowling
side, and
loads,
it
but he
gives
hasn't
you
been injured.
the first two tests to play him in those, like, because you're not going to go straight in with Rayan Ahmed, are you? You're not saying
No,
you're going to go into the Perth
kind of
test with Rayan Ahmed. But if you then decide you wanted to bring him in, at least if he's been in the Lions squad for the first two sort of shadows the first two tests, doesn't it? Then he's had some cricket, so he's not coming in cold, which I think is worth considering as well.
So he bowled a little bit. I've got Rayan Ahmed.
There was one game, wasn't there, where he took like a fiver and a sixer in the same games. He scored 115.
Bowled well. Took 23 wickets when he did bowl, but he only bowled 164 overs. Like Matt Parkinson. Do you remember him? Playing for Kent in the same division. Just as another leg spinner, played fewer matches actually, bowled in fewer innings, 366 overs. So he's quite underbowled. Like there is an injury concern around Rayan Ahmed, and I think it's fair from England not to want to pick him as their immediate backup spinner. So there's my thoughts on that. Like Rayan Ahmed, he's not in the squad, and I guess, is there anyone else you were surprised not to see?
I think the only people you could maybe argue are guys who are in either the Lions squad or are just going to be in Australia anyway with the Big Bash. I think maybe Jordan Cox is possibly one name that you might have expected to see there, because he had an injury, didn't he, towards the end of the summer? Or still batted, but maybe there's a concern there. But I think he's probably the one that I would maybe have expected to see in a squad as a backup option with the bat, because he's been looking really quite impressive in recent years. But again, that's all white ball stuff, isn't it? So moving on. And I think maybe Sonny Baker is one that they would have been considering, but he was diabolical with the white ball. But again, he's in the Lions squad. So I don't think any of it is particularly surprising from that front. It was probably a bit of a toss up, wasn't it, for who got the Matthew Potts role to replace Chris Wokes, and he got the nod.
Matthew Potts got it. I think from a bowling point of view, I think the bowling side's probably more important for England than the batting side. I think England are quite lucky that they look like they're going to go into the series with basically all of their first choice bowling options.
Yeah, it's just a question of how long they have them for.
Yeah, Wokes might have been on the plane, but I don't know if he'd have been first choice. I think they probably would have gone with Atkinson and Cass to replace his batting, and Archer and Wood can swing it, can't they? So it's like I don't know about that. Do you want to say anything about Wokes' retirement? That's another piece of news that we
yes. Well, that sort of came off the back of it, didn't it? Didn't make it onto the plane and announced his retirement, which I think the writing was probably on the wall, wasn't it, after that injury?
Yeah.
I would say for Chris Wokes, the main thing is that it's a shame that it ended the way it did. Although I suppose the coming out and batting in a sling was a pretty glorious sight, even though he didn't manage to inexplicably, against all odds, get England over the line, which I think would have been an absolutely preposterous story to finish up on. So I guess it's nice that didn't actually happen, so that we are still living in a world where reality actually has some fabric. I mean, he's been Mr. Dependable for England at home for a very, very long time, isn't he? It's a role that England are gonna miss. Opening the bowling, I think they're gonna struggle in terms of home tests to find one player who can be as an effective as a replacement, because obviously the volume of work he gets through and the quality of work he gets through with the ball is one thing, but the added batting that he offers is another. And I think he's been a bit of an unsung hero at times for England in recent years. Overseas, very, very different scenario for Chris Wokes, isn't it? Pretty bad, really, in all things considered, but often in there again because of his batting. But I think he's going to be really tricky to replace for England, because you look at that England lineup. It's one thing in Australia where the conditions are different. But at home with the swinging ball, there's a gap there that needs filling, and England's opening partnership with the ball in the series in the summer did look like it was missing something at times, and I think that something was the ball hooping around corners, which is it's fun to see, and I don't know who they'll go for, if at all, to replace that. We could be looking at a very different England with the ball in the next few years.
Yeah, it could be. It'll be an interesting change. For me, Max, Woke's an appropriately rated cricketer.
Yeah,
like pretty good. Could do most of it pretty well. Won a World Cup. Very good at tests at home. Average 48 with the ball away. That's not so good.
Not so good. I think he's a guy who at home has been been unlucky, I suppose, to be in the same era as Jimmy and Stuart Broad. Probably would have taken more wickets.
I think he probably would have. But what did he end up with? 200?
Yeah, not to be sniffed at.
Not quite 200. 192 wickets, which over 62 tests is a decent, if slightly unspectacular return, and probably points to the fact that he only ever took a wicket in innings when he was playing away from home, which you would like to have seen better. But I don't think at 36 we were suddenly about to see him dominate the Gabba.
No,
I
think it's a decision that has forced England's hand, and I think they might have made it anyway. But it's probably to England's benefit that the decision has been made for them, because I think England are probably better off without considering playing Chris Woakes in Australia. The body of evidence is sufficient to suggest it would have been a mistake.
Yeah, his batting also not fantastic away from home, and not fantastic in Australia. So I actually don't think England miss anything. I think they will miss Chris Woakes.
They'll miss his lovely face.
Yeah. In Australian news, Marnus Labuschagne has scored 160 runs. Was dropped twice doing it, which I think they're all bad omens. Marnus getting runs and he's getting dropped again.
Yeah, because that is basically when Marnus was good, wasn't it? When he was getting dropped 7 times a day.
So I guess watch out for that. I think there's, we'll probably do a deeper look or a more intense look at the Australian team as we get nearer the Ashes. They've kind of only just started their season, haven't they? I know that Sam Constas failed twice in the first match, and I think Cameron Bancroft failed in the first game. So there's definitely going to be a thing at the top of the order. Khawaja is 807 now. that will be, I imagine, a plot line of this Ashes. But it's probably a little bit too early to make a call on who's a bust and who isn't from the Australian side of things. So Max, we will take a quick break and then we'll come back, and we've got the Asia Cup and the Women's World Cup to get through.